Ryan Little.
This time.
Oh yeah, we should.
We're prepared.
Let me make sure this is off and gone here. All right, we should be loud. We should be clear. Everybody should be able to hear us and see us. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. We are back. I'm here with the one and only Evan Filarca. He came back. We had to get him back for this, man. We're excited.
The return.
The epic return of Evan Filarca.
What's up, true believers? Thank you again so much for having me, dude. It's always a blast just to talk to you about Spider-Man. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about today.
Like, man. Don't worry. We're going to go over it all, guys. Everything that, a lot of people either don't want to talk about, we're going to talk about today. We're going to break it all down from the pre-orders of the game to the remaster to the new mechanics, all of that. We're going to talk all of it.
We're diving deep.
Yes, sir. This is one of those much needed conversations about the game because it looks so great. That's the beauty of it. It looks so great. Obviously, you already know Spider-Man Miles Morales. We got the gameplay just now, official gameplay at the PlayStation Showcase, and oh my God, did it scream next gen? Let me tell you, it screamed next gen. And now, now that everything's out here, we can talk about it. What's up, Disciple? What's up, everybody that's in here? Hit that like button. Welcome. So, Evan, your first reaction. What was your reaction to this gameplay, sir?
Whew, man. Well, let me tell you, just flat out, literally, I cannot be happier with the result that Insomniac showed. Honestly, like, there's a lot of discussion beforehand, which is, understandable, is this going to be DLC of Spider-Man PS4? Is this just like a little add-on for the game? Is this not really going to expand that much with the universe itself and just kind of really copy and paste from the first game. And granted, you can see a little bit here and there of just kind of assets that they obviously carried over from the first game. But I think what they showed as a standalone spin-off game focusing solely on Miles, like what they already said, is compared in the similar structure as Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. So it's not a full-blown sequel, but it is an extension of the universe with Miles' story. And even though the gameplay looks incredible off the bat, visually, performance-wise, just the way that what Miles is doing in the demo itself that we saw, I think the story, first and foremost, is actually very encapsulating so far, and how they're continuing the narrative from the first game, where it's a year later. Miles is now living in Harlem with his mom and his friend Genki Lee. Yep. Of course, she's running, from what they confirmed, actually, it's not mayor, it's city council of New York. Yeah. And she's trying to run a campaign, and Roxxon is there kind of backing her up, and they have this new energy source, new form, where the Tinkerer and her group, the Underground, which is a whole other conversation about her involvement, is going against them to try and say, we're here and we're going to stop the corruption of Roxxon and use the new form for our own benefit. So how Miles has to go about those situations and these experiences while he is growing into his own Spider-Man, compared to how Peter was 8 years in. He was already fully experienced. He knew what to do. He faced off against a lot of other supervillains in his game, and seeing how he had to face off against Dr. Octopus as the main threat, with Mr. Negative as kind of the core crux of that story, and how Peter has to deal with those characters. Yep. This, with Miles versus Tinkerer, and how he has to most likely, even though it's not confirmed yet, I do think there's a very high chance that the Prowler will be in this game, his uncle, Aaron Davis, how that could enhance the story even further with Miles' character, and seeing how he can become even more independent as his own Spider-Man. What we got, the small snippets in the demo for the story alone, was beautiful. And the music, too, just the graphics, the gameplay, just everything that I saw. Literally, I can't really think of anything that I wanted to see more of or less of. Like, there was no real flaws that I saw. Like, I think that what they gave us is just perfect. Like, we know what to expect since we played the first one. We know what's going to be in this new one since it's a Miles game, and how he is going to play differently from Peter. And literally, it's less than 2 months away. I think that's the craziest thing about all this, is that even though next gen's right around the corner, all these other incredible games are coming out, it's a launch title with the PS5 and PS4. So if you're someone who isn't able to secure the pre-orders for the new console, because believe me, I haven't been able to either, you can still have the option to play it on PS4. And that is wonderful. And they still say that even though it's a cross-gen title, you still have a great new next-gen Spider-Man game to dive into with Miles Morales and the remaster for Marvel's Spider-Man, but it will still look just as good on PS4. So that is just really great business from Insomniac's part, and just seeing how they're trying to be as friendly as possible to people transitioning onto these new consoles. And with the experience that we have, like, obviously, if you were a fan of the first game, you're most definitely going to buy this Miles game. But if you're someone who maybe wants to hold off a bit, you can still play Miles on the PS4 and then decide whether or not you should purchase a PS5 afterwards. So that's just and it's a free upgrade too, which is even better. But man, it's a lot going on, and I think based on what we saw initially, it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
All right, now I have a bunch of new viewers since last time. So for those you're asking who's Evan Filarca, well, let me give you the 411 real quick. The Spider-Man PS4. Well, first of all, he created the group by the name of Spidey Squad. Now, for those of you that played Spider-Man on the PS4, you guys remember there's like a social type of hub on the game where it has Spidey Squad in there. That right there is actually created by Mr. Evan Filarca, and it blew up, and it legit made it in the game. So that's who Evan Filarca is. He's a big-time Spider-Man fan who created the perfect club for everybody, and it got a lot of traction. So shout out to Mr. Evan here. It's a big deal. But,
that's all thanks to you guys. That's beautiful. Like, it's just the community of Spider-Man fans as a whole that Insomniac wanted to give a shout out to, and I'm just lucky to be a part of it and have, kind of just created the concept of what it is. But really, it's all of you amazing individuals who make the Spidey Squad what it is. And without you guys, we would not be here today. At least I wouldn't be here today doing what I am doing now, talking to this amazing individual right here. So thank you so much, dude. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Now, Man, okay, so gameplay, we already see the difference immediately. They immediately threw out the obviously the electric power for Miles, which again looks incredible. The amount of particle physics that they put out in this game, all the effects and transitions, it looks so different. You know, it just feels so different from what we're looking at before. And what they've were able to just put on screen is just insane. Even throwing a reference to Spider-Man Homecoming on the bridge itself when he's holding the bridges together, kind of like how Peter did when he was holding two halves of the ship together in Homecoming. That's another cool reference by itself. But in terms of like the gameplay, man, clearly they've definitely done their job of showcasing the difference between PS4 and this version. Now again, a lot of people are definitely on ARM, so they're kind of like up in the air. What's up, Viper? But they're kind of up in the air because of a few things they actually confirmed for the PS4 version. For example, if you own Spider-Man on the PS4, you won't be getting the remaster of that for free or anything of that nature. You also can't buy the remaster separately. You have to buy the bundle, the Ultimate Edition for this to get that. And the confusion, and well, not really confusion, but the doubt, really, I guess you can say, right? People want to know what is so different about the PS4 version on PS5 versus what we've already played. And that right there is really a good question, and I kind of wanted to get into that. Like, when we first saw this game, right? Remember, when we first saw Spider-Man PS4, it had a completely different art style for the PS4. It was like, it had like a metallic sheen to the suit. All the powers pretty much looked the same, right? But some of the set pieces and everything of that nature had more detail in a lot of areas, especially in that construction part with all the puddles that they took away later on in the revision.
Hashtag Puddlegate 2.0, baby. Let's go.
Hashtag Puddlegate. So my question for you, Evan, do you think with the remake of this or the remaster that's going to be PS5 version, do you think they're going to be adding that type of stuff into that? And also, remember, as you progress through the game on the PS4 version from the from the original look that we saw with the metallic sheen and all that stuff, a lot of scenes were redone. Remember the construction part with the where you're chasing Mr. Negative and he does that little twist through the debris? His eyes was supposed to zoom in, do that little zoom in effect like it was in the trailer. He doesn't do that in the finished product. So I'm wondering, did they redo all this stuff and added that on the PS5?
Yeah, and what's crazy is that they kind of did that as a really interesting marketing trick where in the final game, that whole E3 2017 showcase was reworked because they were trying to reveal Mr. Negative as a villain. It wasn't the main villain, but they're like, oh, here's one of our core baddies of the game. And then the final product, they completely took that out. Like, they had the henchman of the Inner Demons, like the Inner Demon Lieutenant as the main guy that you were chasing after in the helicopter. Mr. Negative was nowhere to be found. So they did that as a little kind of like side swipe thing, and the same thing at the E3 2018 demo where they had that wait you scene where he was looking at the main antagonist like, wait, oh my god, who is it? And then they cut off because they didn't want to spoil the surprise. And then the the final game, it was reworked to include Dr. Octopus. So they have a lot of assets that they took out to kind of trick us with the marketing. But for the visual aesthetic, that we're definitely correct, where the textures of the game were continuously updated and updated and updated throughout the marketing's progression. So 2017, they kind of had this more, kind of shinier, sleek look to the visuals, especially with the puddles, of course, being more apparent in the 2017 version. And then specifically, we got to Paris Games Week of 2017 in October, where then they kind of overhauled the graphics even more. And then Spider-Man looked kind of completely different from E3. And then we got to Game Informer in 2018 in April, where they had the pre-alpha footage shown off for gameplay. And that was just pre-alpha footage, and it still looked incredibly well detailed. And then we got closer and closer to release with the full 4K screenshots coming out and the assets being displayed on how good the game looks on the PS4 Pro. And then the final version came out in September, where it had all these, assets and visual properties to make the game run better on PS4, exclusively on the one platform, and then even a little slightly more polished on the PS4 Pro. Now, even though people say it's just 2 years old with the 2018 version of the game versus now with this remaster, I do understand that because it's pretty new, and that's why they're giving you the option to play that version, the original PS4 version, backwards compatible on PS5. But
Yes.
if you do want to completely entrance yourself in a fully PS5 reworked edition, fully remastered with brand new updated assets directly for that new console, then you should buy the PS5 remaster because it also has the 60 FPS frame rate. It has ray traced environments, the DualSense controller capabilities with the haptic feedback, 3D audio, graphical performance enhancements, updated character models, and they even said on Twitter, this wasn't in their PlayStation blog post, but they confirmed on Twitter that they actually redid from the ground up, completely redid all the environment assets for the city of New York. So the whole visual aesthetic of the game is completely different from what we see now in the original game onto the remaster. And that's where we were talking about this before the stream started, but that's where people are kind of confused about where, well, why can't we buy this remaster for free? Why can't we just upgrade it for free like what we can do for The Witcher, for example? That's another game that's kind of doing a free transition, or Avengers, where you can freely transition between PS4 or Xbox One to Xbox Series X or PS5 with a free next-gen enhancement. But the difference is, for Avengers' case, let's just use Avengers since they're both Marvel. Avengers is not a remaster. Yeah, it's not a remaster of the next-gen game from PS4 to PS5. It's just optimized to work on the next-gen consoles, where all they did was just kind of, port the game over, spice up a few things. They're going to have a 60 FPS performance mode in the PS5 version with some better-looking textures and visual enhancements as well, but not a core, straight, direct console reboot, pretty much, of the game with a direct remaster. And that's what Spider-Man is. Now, it is obviously a bummer that it's not releasing physically, because I personally love physical media more than digital media, so that I understand completely why people are upset. But if you think about it, they're bundling this remaster with Miles Morales. And they even confirmed that base standard games going forward in the future with next-gen consoles are going to cost at a opening price, a base starting price at $69.99 USD. Exactly. So now base games in general are going to cost more on next gen, and even more if you buy like a collector's edition or something. But for Miles, it's a standalone spin-off game that's shorter than Spider-Man PS4, which is why the standard version of it is going to cost $59.99 USD. Or sorry, $49.99 USD. 49, for the standard version on PS5. There's so many numbers to keep track of, but that's the standard version of the base game on PS4 and PS5 because that's just by the game in itself. But normally you would have to pay $70 regardless for a base game. And what Sony's deciding to do is, well, people already love the remaster or love the base game of Spider-Man PS4. Why don't we package the remaster of that game with Miles as a bundled additional $20? So that way you're already paying the base price of a standard game, and you just so happen to be buying two games in one package. So not only will the game completely be reworked from the ground up, all the visual assets are going to look flawless on the PS5, new suits, 3 new amazing suits, which have a lot of Spidey fans hyped, whether or not that's going to be the Andrew Garfield movie suits, which I really hope that they are, as well as new photo mode features and new trophies to unlock when playing through the game. And, of course, you can purchase Miles Morales on your PS4, freely upgrade to the PS5 version, and even more so, if you want to get the remastered as well, you can then just upgrade with an additional $20 to then get both games on the next-gen console. So again, it's a very, very complex roadmap to understand. I completely get why people are kind of confused and a little bit unsure as to what version they could get or what they can get with what version of the game. I totally get that. But I definitely think that this is an interesting way for Sony to go about promoting their next-gen console with a brand new next-gen game in order to sell those platforms, because obviously they want their new platform to sell well and incentivize players to get two great games at one solid price. Whereas if we were to pay for both of them separately, then I think I would be wholeheartedly pissed. Like if we had to pay for a full $60 or even $70 upgrade for the remaster of Spider-Man PS4 with a $50 Miles Morales standalone game and a $500 physical PS5, which I'm getting the disc drive PS5.
Yeah, we kind of all have no choice.
plus dollars, exactly. So that's so much money to spend. So they're trying to be as consumer-friendly as possible with this bundle, but I still understand why people are kind of confused and upset about it at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the suits because I know a lot of people really praise the PS4 version for having so many options for suits, but they were missing some key ones. They were
Right.
missing some. They were missing some key ones. Like for example, obviously we didn't get the Venom suit because they were setting that up at the end of the game. But what they could have done, they could have given you the black suit from Spider-Man 2, the movie. They could have given, or Spider-Man 3, I'm sorry, for the movie with Sam
Right.
Raimi's version. They could have given you that. They definitely didn't show no love to Andrew Garfield. That's for sure. Andrew Garfield
Rip.
got no respect whatsoever.
He
And
got
that's kind of a
Thanos
bummer.
snapped away. He got flat dusted from the first game.
That is kind of a
Oof.
bummer because he had a dope suit in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I actually like
It
that
looks
style
gorgeous.
suit. Yeah, he had a cool suit for that. So he didn't get no love whatsoever. Just like they didn't even honor his original suit. Remember the one that he made that was in the first
Yeah.
one? There was nothing
And I
like
love
that.
that one. Yeah, that one looks clean in my opinion. But yeah, none of the Andrew movie suits were at all in the first game. And the fact that they specifically said, oh, we have 3 amazing suits to newly feature in our remaster, which is them just styling all over us like, oh, we see you, Insomniac, we see you. But yeah, it's crazy to think that, and that's another thing. This isn't just a typical remaster, because they're adding new content which isn't in the base game, where I would then completely understand, like, why can't we freely upgrade from the PS4 version of Spider-Man onto the PS5 remaster? And it's because they're kind of going about that in a little slick way, is that, well, it is a graphical enhancement from the ground up of the first game onto the PS5, but the way that they get you is that there's also new content, where none of this content is going to be featured in the PS4 version at all from the base game and is only going to be included into the remaster. So a lot of people are saying, well, wait, are they going to include the 3 new suits, the new photo mode features, and the new trophies into the PS4 version? And the answer is no, because they're trying to get you to buy the remaster for the PS5. So that is where it comes in, where since there's newer, where if it was just a graphical enhancement and nothing else, then I would agree saying we should get a free upgrade. But it's a graphical enhancement from the ground up, fully reconceptualized to work on the PS5 with new models, new visuals, all that, with new suits, new photo mode features, and new trophies. So there's newer content that hasn't been included before in the past, and that's the way they're working around it.
Vision, basically, which they couldn't fulfill on PS4, and that's crazy that I'm saying that, because they given so much with the PS4 version. Just imagine what they're going to do now, especially with DualSense now being a thing. I mean, you're seeing on the screen now with the new improved Spidey sense, like it's more immersive looking. See how he dodges now? It looks crazy.
Yeah,
that looks really, really good. So yeah, I can really see all that being a thing. I know a lot of people were upset about the fact that your save files also don't necessarily carry over either, so you have to start clean. And I definitely agree that is a bummer, because those backpacks were are tedious to get, or the landmarks were very, very tedious. But at the same time, when I first played it, it was all about the lore for me personally. It was about seeing how much was in here, and you found out more. Like for example, you find out in this version, Peter has won against the Lizard. He's fought Dr. Connors. He's fought He's fought Kingpin numerous times, obviously. They give you kind of a reference to Scorpion's original suit before he got the upgraded one that he's in now, that he's stuck in. All that stuff. Like, you get all the cool context. So, again, I get it. It is messed up. But at the same time, it kind of is there to give more context to characters. And to be honest with you, if you played the DLC and you get to a certain part in the Hammerhead DLC, you kind of respect the game more, because it properly sets up a villain that you didn't even see coming to begin with. For example, Yuri Watanabe. I never thought they were going to go this route, at least this early. But Yuri Watanabe might have just been teased as the villain in this particular actual showcase that you guys are looking at on screen. The Tinkerer. A lot of people are saying, well, technically it was Evan who did a video on it, but a lot of people are starting to believe that the Tinkerer might be Yuri Watanabe. Because now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this, spoiler alert, because me and Evan, we're going to have to get into this, but
we're about to dive deep into
we got to go
this.
deep into the lore, and we got to go into this character. But Yuri Watanabe obviously is a cop. That's like your second sidekick in the game in Spider-Man PS4. As you play the game and as you beat it, you think everything's all good, right? Until you play the DLC. In the DLC, you kind of see her mental state break in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
because her worst enemy, like her most hated criminal, is Hammerhead, and Hammerhead pretty much is one of those people that just really breaks her. Like, she just can't get a grip on reality when it comes to Hammerhead. It even got to the point where she tried to shoot him in the head, and she actually did shoot him in the head, and he didn't die. But the thing is, during after the story of that, right, she gets kicked off. I think, didn't she get discharged from the police department?
Yeah,
She got discharged.
She got kicked off from the police chief, and she
So
says, "This won't stop me."
Yeah, she gets discharged.
Like, wow. So, oof.
Yeah. So you thinking, okay, Yuri's just fine, right? Okay, she'll be all right. You know, she's probably going to get a redemption story sometime. No. As you play the game, you start seeing bodies around the place. And this is kind of like a reference to Batman, Arkham. You remember the Hush victims, you know, that are missing their places? This is kind of a reference to that. You see dead bodies in certain places. There's graffiti everywhere. Like, she threw a party when she killed each one of these people. And you find out that these are all criminals who are part of different factions for different villains. And she, in her last victim that you find, you find a video, or it's like a note, and then she calls you and she's like, yeah, I did it. I'm doing things my own way, basically.
She's proud of herself. Like, that's
very
right.
proud of herself. Like, she feels empowered. Like, yeah, I never thought I'd feel this way, but justice needs to be done. So a lot of people might think she turned into the Red Hood. Nah, she's officially lost her mental state, and now she has turned into Wraith. Wraith is a villain that is pretty much, now Wraith's a character. It's kind of like a persona that has been played by many other villains, and each particular villain has their own iteration of it. So, for example, if you're a martial arts specialist, then that version of Wraith was a martial arts specialist. If this guy was a sniper, then guess what? Wraith would be a sniper. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Different iterations of it. Now, what makes Yuri stand out? What does she have access to, Evan? The evidence locker. She has access to everything. She knows where everything is. She knows how to go out about everything. And now she has a persona to go with this, and she can really raise hell at the same time. She knows how the city works. That's a big deal if she is going to be the villain.
She knows the ins and outs of everything. It's crazy. She has her police force training. She has the assistance of working with Spider-Man, so she's kind of used to at least a Spider-Man individual, how he fights. So when she sees, if this is obviously Yuri, when she sees Miles, she's already kind of prepared and knows what to expect, except for his new powers. That's kind of a shock to her, probably. But she has all of her training. She has the police evidence locker with the villain's equipment that she can use to manufacture her own personal super suit, Frozone style. It's insane. And she's going to be like going after Roxxon, if this is obviously the truth. You know, we don't know. This is just a theory. Game theory, but this is just a hypothetical situation. If she is going after Roxxon to expose their corruption with her new organization, the Underground, to stop them, is she actually doing this for her own self-interest, or is there like some bigger story at play here which we're unaware of yet? And funny enough, they did say directly in the demo you're seeing on screen that right here is that this is the Tinkerer in the Underground. They don't specifically say that that character is the Tinkerer herself. And if you think about it, they just say like, oh, the Tinkerer is leading the Underground. That's the main individual who's leading the faction. But is that character right there specifically the Tinkerer? We don't know. I mean, it could be, but I'm, kind of on the half and half side. Like, if I were to choose, I really hope that it's not Yuri, actually, because I would like to see Miles face a new original threat that doesn't pertain to Peter's story, and I would like to see Peter and Yuri have that, fight against each other, that connection where Yuri is now Wraith and Peter has to kind of solve that problem on his own. Or another theory that's going around, this is actually the original Tinkerer's daughter, Phineas Mason. This could be, whoever Mason, like his daughter. If that's the case, that could be cool too. But yeah, if any possible theory is the one that's kind of surfacing the most right now, it's definitely that this character right here is Yuri Watanabe as the Tinkerer, or mainly Insomniac's version of the Wraith disguised as the Tinkerer. So this is a lot of theories going on right now and a lot of layers to dive into from Yuri's character. And I did a whole 30-minute long plus video with my friend Carlos on my channel going over this. So I won't repeat myself here. But yeah, there's so many things we know about Yuri's character from the first game and mainly the DLC, where
Yeah.
in Silver Lining, the third chapter, what you were saying, yeah, that one criminal was strapped up. She was calling Spider-Man, letting him know she did it. And she's like, yeah, this won't stop me. I'm still going to keep doing this. It felt good to get rid of the garbage of the streets of New York. And I delivered true justice on my own. So she's completely lost it. You know, she's in her own world. She's completely devoted to her own path now as the Wraith. And seeing that expand possibly here, if this does in fact turn out to be Yuri as the Tinkerer / the Wraith, is going to be very exciting. And that's the thing too, like the Wraith's powers has the equipment in her suit. So she has the tentacles coming off of her hand. She has the shield.
Yes.
Yuri, as Wraith, can also incorporate tech that she stole from other villains.
Yep.
In the comic, she steals technology from Mysterio to disguise herself as Jean DeWolf as the Wraith and try and, you know, put fear into the hearts of criminals. So she can easily have stolen tech from Dr. Octopus, from Octavius Industries, since that we know, guess what? In the DLC, it's closed down. It got raided. It got completely, you know, closed off and assaulted by the police because they know that he was the, you know, villain in the first game, and they stole all of his assets after Spider-Man defeated him. So they now have the access to Octavius Industries tech. She has access to the other villains' tech from the Sinister Six, who are also now locked up again since Spider-Man defeated them. So if this ends up happening, it could very well turn out to be true. Whether or not people will like that, I'm actually okay with it. I would prefer it to be original, but if it does turn out to be Yuri, I will still be okay with it. And I'm really excited to see how this will pan out for the story.
So I like how you broke that down with like you hope that it's not necessarily Yuri, like for him, like for Miles, because it would make sense that would be like an ultimate conflict between Peter and her in general, because like theirs is more personal. Like they actually worked together before she even, you know, lost it. Like she backed them up and all that. But that kind of makes me wondering, does she know more about Peter than she let on in the beginning? Because remember, she was a cop. I wonder if she knew more about Peter in the long run, and just because they worked together, she didn't say anything. So that's another cool aspect about this. Before I move on, some others. What's up, Blaze? Shout out to everybody in the chat. What's up, Mega? Shout out to Mega for the $5 super chat. He says, we saw Spider-Man PS4 free roam gameplay 1 year before release at E3. We're about 1 month out from Miles, and all we have is 10 minutes of gameplay or combat. Why? Well, honestly, you think about it, they were already kind of like far behind, and this was mostly due to COVID-19. So a lot of their original plans did not go through as like, you know, like as expected. And I'm with you on that. I wanted more, but the thing was we weren't going to get more anytime soon just because of the way the world was and
I also have another theory relating to this matter is that, guess what? This wasn't the only Marvel game that came out this year.
Yes,
or is going to come out this year. Avengers just came out this month, September 4th and September 1st if you bought the deluxe edition, but that game got delayed. It was originally supposed to be coming out on May 15th, and even now with its, you know, later release of September 4th, there's still a lot of, you know, issues that game has that the developers are still currently patching. So they were trying to showcase more of their first main Marvel game to launch this year. Besides, I guess Iron Man VR also came out this year, but that's not really in the same spectrum of these AAA, you know, third-person action adventure games. That's just a fun VR game. Avengers was their main focus. And then after that came out, they were trying to still show off new stuff with the War Table, with new characters. Kate Bishop is coming out in October. Hawkeye's coming out in November. And, oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, Spider-Man is coming to the game in early 2021, specifically March, which got leaked. So that's a little sneak peek for you guys in case you didn't know that. Yeah, Spider-Man is coming out directly in March of 2021 for Avengers. But that game still needed to show off a lot of stuff for people to buy it, since Marvel was already kind of hesitant to show stuff since people weren't too fond of the looter shooter / Destiny / Anthem grinding aspect that the game truly is outside of the campaign. So they had to wait a little bit longer until they had to show Miles, which is why we got the PS5 reveal in June, which personally for me, I wasn't even expecting at all, because I thought there's no way they're going to show another Spider-Man game because they're still trying to promote Avengers before that game came out. And guess what? Oh, here's a brand new Miles Morales Spider-Man game coming out this year in holiday 2020. So they just said, hell with it. We're going to show up
he's supposedly going to be in Avengers as well too, right? Didn't they say Spider-Man was going to be the Avengers? So yeah, the PS5 or PS4 and PS5 users pretty much are going to get Spider-Man exclusive for the Avengers game. So yeah, that's going to happen.
It's a good time to be a Sony fan, or at least a PlayStation fan. But man, it's sick with the Xbox deal. Just a sidebar with the Bethesda. That's a crazy win for Microsoft. Huge win. But the main thing that's going to sell consoles is the games. And if you have Spider-Man for both PS4 and PS5 for both games, the first game and now Miles for both PS4 and PS5, and Spider-Man with Avengers only on PS5 and PS4 systems, I think we know where at least the Marvel fans are going to be purchasing their games on.
Oh yeah, Sony's put themselves in the proper position as the superhero console to definitely go for. Exactly. That's for sure, and that's been very apparent with them. So obviously, Avengers is now on their feet. We see Avengers Tower with Insomniac teasing, crossovers, a sense with other characters.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I think that's probably on the table for a long-term haul. What I love about this gameplay, too, again, like, this is what happens when you really pay attention to the gameplay, guys. Right. But if you guys look at this Miles Morales shoot here, obviously, we talked about Miles' mom. She's running for, what was it, chief? Not
City
chief, but
Council.
City Council. Notice there's no mention of Norman Osborn. And when you look at this, Norman Osborn... it's pretty much set in stone at this point that Norman Osborn has already started on creating his suit. Because remember, in Spider-Man PS4, you see the Green Goblin helmet, you see the schematic for the glider, and you see the pumpkin grenades prototypes. So he's already going down that road to get whatever he needs to get to cure Harry. And Harry is in the vacuum chamber still with the Venom suit. He has not been healed. So he has no choice but to go this route. So they are really setting things up so perfectly right now. It looks great. I can't wait to see what else is going to happen. I'm wondering if they're going to tease that at the end of this game, because they have to do that to set up. So who are they going to tease at the end? Are they going to tease Mysterio? Are they going to tease Norman? Or are they going to showcase
bring back Screwball as the main antagonist for the second game?
Please don't.
Leave a W in the chat if you guys are hyped for Screwball, because man, wow, no, I hope not.
Did Tara Strong voice her by any chance? Who voiced her?
I know, man, I'm really bad at that. I know all the voice actors in the game except for Screwball.
She was just so annoying.
She's a very kind and loving person, but man, I think even Insomniac themselves, I think, don't like Screwball. They kind of were annoyed when they were live streaming Spider-Man PS4. Even some of the developers were like, I don't want to do this Screwball challenge. So they were really kind of open and honest about it. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with the side missions. Kind of a neat transition with Miles and how he'll have to face off against maybe some other villains that don't relate to Peter. Like we were saying before, it wouldn't make sense for, at least from a narrative perspective, if Yuri were to go up against Miles because she's more staked with Peter. Same thing. Like, we obviously are not going to see Dr. Octopus in this game as the main villain for Miles because we already got that. And also that is a character that is directly relating to Peter and his story. So for this game, like we said earlier, I think the Tinkerer is going to be an interesting new threat that Miles will face against, as well as mainly, I hope, his main threat of the Prowler, Aaron Davis, which would be very cool to see. In the sequel, though, I think I'm going to go out on a limb, say there's a 90% chance we're going to see a Venom/Green Goblin post-credit scene in this game, because they're flexing so hard. If you guys have read their article posts on PlayStation Blog's website, they're flexing so hard for the future of the game's universe. They're like, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered is coming on PS5. Miles Morales is the next step within the Marvel's Spider-Man universe. And there's two Brians, which is hilarious. You got to keep this in mind. Brian Horton is the creative director for Miles Morales, but Brian Intihar is the previous director for Spider-Man PS4. And he went on to say in a PlayStation blog post saying that Brian Intihar is still currently working on the future of where the Marvel Spider-Man universe will go next after Miles. So they're going in. And you would think, well, Spider-Man PS4 already set up Miles' game with this post-credit scene.
Yes.
We saw where Peter's main threat is obviously going to be Venom, and he'll wear the black suit in the sequel, as well as Norman Osborn becoming Green Goblin. But they also had the first post-credit scene show Miles and Peter together. You know, they were on the ceiling. They're like, oh, pretty weird, right? Oh, not that weird. So that was a direct tease, and Silver Lining did as well, where it shows Miles in the, you know, the proto Spider-Man suit with the mask on, and Peter's like, you know, catch up with the swinging. So he's like teaching him how to swing. So already those two post-credit scenes, for all that, tease Miles's story in his own game. So I think it's safe to say here that after Miles' narrative is done with his story, he goes up against the Tinkerer and the Prowler or whoever, Screwball again, who knows, hope not. But they show that and they have the story end, they're going to obviously tease what's next, because you already know there's a Marvel Spider-Man 2 happening.
Absolutely. It's got to be a bigger one than this, because, you know, instead of one Spider-Man, we're playing as two. I mean, they're already showing off the invisibility, everything, so you already know, more than likely, those stealth missions that a lot of people thought were annoying on the PS4 version with Mary Jane and Miles, well, they'll probably come back, but it won't involve them as, you know, humans. It would just involve Miles with his invisibility. I can see that being a thing if they ever want to go that route, for sure.
Absolutely.
What'd he say here? Somebody, shout out to CB3. He said $2 super chat. He says, do you think Carnage will be teased in the second game? Absolutely. See, as soon as you get Venom on screen, they have no choice but to show off Carnage. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. It's part of the story. That's part of the lore.
Right.
It's offspring. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be his offspring of the Venom suit. So that's how it is. But yeah, you're going to get that for sure. Absolutely. I do believe that's going to be a thing. They're building upon this so right. They're doing everything perfect. And they're showing off characters that were very underrated. Like, a lot of people didn't even know who Mr. Negative was not too long ago.
Yeah.
You know,
it's insane.
He's a very underrated character. And I'm wondering if they're going to bring back Morbius. I think Morbius will be that'd be insane if Morbius makes a return.
That'd be beautiful. If we get him in this game, I would not mind that. I would love that and see how Miles will react. Is there a freaking vampire in New York? Hold on, like, whoa! Like, if he had a crazy reason to that, I would love that. I mean,
we got snow physics now, right? We have night. We definitely have. So I'm guessing they switched that around, because remember how in the PS4 version, there wasn't really a dynamic shift between day and night. You noticed that it was like a loading screen, and then it was night. I'm more than likely they fixed that, and you're getting the dynamic thing, right? So you're getting the more dynamic change from day to night. And since they're doing that, I just wonder. I had that feeling that they'll do that, because Batman did a good job at that with, like, on Halloween, the Man-Bat. You remember Man-Bat? Yes. Man-Bat disappears from the chamber at Halloween, on Halloween. Right. So I'm wondering if they would consider doing that. Maybe not for Miles, right? But for Spider-Man 2.
Exactly.
I'm wondering.
That's what I hope too. They have a seamless day-night cycle. They kind of like enhance the dynamic weather, because while there was weather in Spider-Man PS4, it wasn't dynamic. You know, you could be in a sunny daytime New York or a rainy, foggy Manhattan, but you couldn't seamlessly transition from one to the other. You had to choose the time of day or a specific point in the story to have the game look a certain way. So this, I don't know if they're going to have a seamless day-night-time cycle for Miles, but absolutely, if they bring that for the sequel, then that would be incredible, because this is very cool from Insomniac's part, where they're making this a cross-gen game, where even though it will be cross-gen for Miles, they're still saying, oh, it will look just as good as a fully next-gen game would on the PS5, but it will still look beautiful regardless on the PS4 and PS4 Pro, which is solid. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get my PS5 on day one launch. I hope I can, but if not, then we still have the option play it on my PS4. I'm gonna try tomorrow. GameStop had that post today. I'm going to the store tomorrow in person. Gonna wait out in line for hours. I bet.
Yeah, that's definitely the way. That's definitely the way to go about it. Because you're going online, it's gonna be a nightmare to get online. That's for sure. Yep.
Oh, exactly. My website crashed like 3-4 times trying to go online. So online, I can't trust. In person, my GameStop is literally like 10 minutes away. I'm gonna walk there, wait outside for a day, probably camp out, and just pre-order the next day. So we'll see how that works. But for the sequel, what's crazy is that, you know, that's the thing, though. If you're not able to have that, you can still play Miles regardless. Granted, it won't look as beautiful as it looks here with the gameplay for the PS5 and the 60 FPS mode, but it'll still look just as good, I'm assuming, as what Spider-Man PS4 looked for Miles' game. However, my point is for the official sequel, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, whenever that comes out, 2022, 2023.
That's what you're really going to see them really push even further. Keep in mind, this is entry level. I want everybody to understand this. We're blown away by something that is the first step on the PS5. This is not them going all out. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They're really showcasing some cool things here, especially that's why they're showing off DualSense the way they are. That's why they're talking about the new improvements with the particle effects, everything happening on screen. They're doing a good job of showcasing the jump. But if you think they really stepped up and pushed the envelope, they haven't done it yet.
Not there yet.
We're not there yet. We're just scratching
definitely the envelope. Like, for sure, I'm 110% for sure expect the sequel for Marvel Spider-Man to only be on PS5.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That has to be,
not with other consoles. That game will for sure be only on PS5 day one.
That's true.
No exceptions.
So CB3 dropped a $2 super chat. He said, low key, I wish we also got Sandman in the first game. Now, you know what's funny? A lot of you were saying Sandman in this chat. Like, a lot of you were wondering where was Sandman in the first one. I saw that, Cryptos. I'll talk about that too when it comes to game sizes. But a lot of people were definitely talking about Sandman in here, Evan. Right. Like, where was Sandman? How come Sandman wasn't really referenced? Right. Keep in mind, Sandman can definitely be brought into the universe, but the thing is, Sandman's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to talk down on the character, because remember, if you watch, there's a lot of games where he's already in there. Like, for example, one of my favorite Spider-Man games, it was called Shattered Dimensions. He was in Shattered Dimensions, and Shattered Dimensions did a really, really good job because it had Nor Spider-Man on there, which was one of my favorites as well. But again, he's not really needed. That's what I'm trying to say. He's not really needed. You don't really need Sandman. Like, he was already done. It still holds up well too in the Sam Raimi film. The effects for Sandman still holds up well, but it's like he's not really needed. You don't really need Sandman. Got another one from Lee McFarland. He dropped $5. He says, will they make a game that will allow us to play as Venom? I don't think we'll ever get a game that will allow us to play strictly as Venom unless it was a movie license game. But I doubt we'll get that either way.
All the way back in 2005, shout out to Ultimate Spider-Man for being literally the best.
That's
true. That was literally, everyone says, Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man game ever made. I'm like, yeah, okay. Have you played Ultimate Spider-Man? Because I don't think you have. So literally, I still
remember that the feed option. We had the feed on humans, so it's Venom.
Dude, the first thing you do as Venom is eat a kid.
Yep.
In the streets of New York. Literally a savage. Best game of all time, honestly. Besides this one, of course. But literally, I would imagine if they had a sequel for Spider-Man, where this kind of goes back to the other question with Carnage possibly being in the game, is if they go a different route where we don't know if Eddie Brock is going to be Venom.
I could be. He is.
They were pretty much teasing directly, like exactly that Harry is going to be this version of Venom in the Insomniac universe, and how that will go forward with the connection that Peter and Harry have further. So if they include Carnage in the game as maybe he'll be the actual villain, maybe you could actually then get to play as Venom teaming up with Spider-Man to take him out.
Let's break that down too. That's a good point. So Eddie Brock, I honestly do believe he will either be teased in this, but I'm pretty sure he is definitely coming for part 2.
Right.
The reason why I believe he's coming for part 2, because they kind of already spoiled that we were going to see the Daily Bugle. So I'm wondering if Peter goes back to work for the Daily Bugle. You think so?
Right.
I think that might be a thing. And if he is coming back, that could bring Eddie in here.
Right. I would for sure love to see what the Daily Bugle looks like in this universe. We see the building outside, in the city, of course, and Mary Jane has that role as the
photographer,
investigative journalist for the Daily Bugle now, since Peter was working there, and then he left because of the article that Jameson wrote about Electro, for him, in the fight against Electro and blaming Spider-Man for murdering cops when it was actually Electro. So that, I would say it'd be cool to see him return for a little bit, but I think I want Peter's character to progress instead of retreat. I want him to continue further with what he was doing in the lab with Otto as the scientist, and maybe
build the future.
Be a teacher, exactly. Maybe work at a higher tech lab. Maybe he's working at Roxxon. I don't know. Or what I would like to see personally, since this is a Miles game, I would like to see Peter be a teacher assistant at Midtown High, Miles' high school.
That'd be cool, like a science teacher. Yeah, that'd be cool. But you know what he also could be doing? He could be carrying on Harry's work. Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Yes.
Yeah, he could be carrying on Harry's work. Remember his mom's secret little bases that were all about like environmental safety? That might be something that they teased for this, because remember, you can do those environmental things like affect, like change pollution, like stuff that pollutes the air, wasteland, stuff like that. You can do all that in the game. So I'm wondering that's part of it.
It was said in Harry's room, if you explore his room in the Osborn penthouse, he said if you investigate some of his stuff, I think Mary Jane says he wants to be an environmental lawyer.
Yes.
Of something like that. Like he wanted to try and continue his mom's work. And if Harry's not around, then I could easily see Peter investigating into that more on his own while Harry is still trapped in the tube. So I would love to see that go forward. And then if Miles, which is really cool that they're going this route, he's a sound mixer, like a music producer, like he's making his own beats and traps and stuff. Like holy smokes!
Which they debuted it in the combat too. You can hear like a crazy beat playing.
Oh my god!
They did that in the trailer.
The detail is just incredible with
it's
that.
Awesome.
So if they incorporate, Miles's narrative in a natural way that'll hint to where the sequel is going, instead of just force it down our throats, because obviously this is not Peter's story. This is not going to be anywhere near what Peter's dealing with, because he's on his own, wherever he is in this game. He's not dead, which is great, but this is going to see how Miles as a character can deal on his problems by himself. Maybe Peter will come out maybe by the end as a little tiny cameo, but I think this
kind of like Tony Stark in Homecoming, right? Like check on him type of thing. Like, how'd you do?
Yes.
I can see that, because remember, like, from what I'm gathering, guys, for all of you guys watching, shout out to all you guys here. But from what we're gathering here, shout out to everybody. Hit that like button. I'm gonna ask you a question in a second, Williams, in a second, because that's gonna fall in this too. But you notice how there's two parts to New York, right? I'm wondering if they like split up. So Peter's responsible for this side, Miles is responsible for that side. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if they did that for this, but. To go into what he asked me in the chat, he said, do you think multiplayer will be a thing? I don't think multiplayer will be in here, but I do think they will bring, what was it, double takedowns? You guys remember double takedowns from Batman? I can see that being a thing in here. In the combat, that would be cool. I can see stuff like that. Or you switching between them on the fly in part 2, kind of like GTA.
Yes.
That would be another cool one, because each will have their own different objectives, collectibles, and missions and characters that they will face, and that will be another cool way of incorporating more personality on screen. They're two different people playing, we're basically having the same role, which is a superhero, I'm sorry, but they're not the same. They're not the same person. So that's the cool part.
Right off the bat, like Miles' combat is incredibly faster than what Peter was able to do in the first game. He has brand new powers, which could possibly be seen from some people who are still sticking with the whole DLC argument, is that it could be a suit power, but that's part of his character. The camouflage, the Venom Blast. We even got on Twitter, they're talking about new versions of the Venom Blast with the Venom Jump, where he lifts all those guys off in the street into the air and he beats them up midair. That's a whole new set of powers for his capabilities, what you notice from the comics, into this game. So they're expanding it from the ground up, utilizing everything that they know about Miles, what makes him so special from Peter and different from Peter, and incorporating that into his overall play style. So in the sequel, I think it'll be safe to say that the map will be bigger. I mean, I'm sure that the map, we don't know this as of yet, but I think the whole basic island of Manhattan will be the same map within Miles like it was in the first game.
Yeah,
but in
the
official sequel, we definitely need to see Queens and Brooklyn as
absolutely.
For sure.
They might have a reference to Captain America, because remember, Captain America's from Brooklyn, so I wonder if there's going to be like a statue from Captain America. That'd be cool.
Please, Steve Rogers out.
Absolutely. And that was a cool reference too in the movie, because he's like, where you from? He's like, I'm from Queens. He's like, I'm from Brooklyn. Like that'd be cool if they did that for Captain America.
See you later. Enjoy lifting that walkway.
Shout out to CB3. He said, I've dropped the $5 today. He says, do you think this series will be a trilogy? If so, do you think Peter will die or sacrifice himself in the third game and Miles will end up taking over? So when Evan was on here the first time, we actually talked about a proper way, right, of going off with this, right? Like how they could go about that. Honestly, from what we're gathering, it could be very similar to what we see in comic. Because remember, Peter Parker does die, and the mantle does get carried over to Miles. Now, the question is that the case that they're going for? Because now we do know this is more of a mature Peter Parker. This is not the kid anymore. He's been through a lot. Aunt May, they literally touched on the feels immediately in the first game, with her being legit taken away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm wondering, that is a good point. Will he actually like sacrifice himself? Will he become the bad guy? I think we said something about him becoming the Black Suit Spider-Man as well. Because you remember when you look at Harry in the Vector chamber, what do we know about the symbiote? We know symbiotes do what? They need a host to survive. That's for sure. But they also amplify characteristics and they learn abilities from the host. Harry's too weak. Let's keep it real. He's too weak to really do anything for Harry. Like the Venom can't do anything for Harry aside to keep him alive, maybe. But if it was Peter, not only would you get all the Venom powers, but it would definitely set him up as a proper villain because it will slowly show him lose his sanity in a sense and become the Black Suit of Spider-Man. But we also said that could have been Miles, because remember, Miles is the new kid on the block and Miles has invisibility. And in the comics, Venom actually has that ability where he can go invisible and he can hide from Peter's Spidey sense and get it behind him all the time. Yeah. So I'm wondering, it's really a toss-up if you think about it, guys, of who could it be. It could be Peter. It could be Miles. They might go the shocking route and have you guys get really attached to Miles in this DLC, and then bam. You know what I'm saying? Go with that. This not DLC, but this standalone game, and go bam.
You'll never see it coming. Persona 5 style.
Exactly.
But yeah, the coolest thing, which is why I love what Insomniac's doing, is that they can do anything. They have free reigns to do whatever they want into this universe. They could make, the Tinkerer Yuri. They could make Harry Venom. They could make Norman Osborn a version of the Green Goblin that we've never seen before. Doc Ock was already an incredible, well-rounded character in the first game, and so was Mr. Negative, and yet they still managed to do new stuff with those characters that hasn't been done in the comics. So literally they are going about it in such an interesting way. World building is one of their biggest strong suits. They've sprinkled out so many possibilities within the first game. We've already seen off the bat with Miles's game, all the other source material they have from the comics and how they can fully individualize it for their own universe going forward with the next game. And for sure, this is going to be a trilogy. If you take out Miles's game, Marvel's Spider-Man 1, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and Marvel's Spider-Man 3 with a standalone Miles Morales spin-off game. And of course, that's what we were talking about in the last video we did together, is whether or not they could do other spin-off games. A Venom spin-off, a Spider-Gwen spin-off, whatever. Aunt May spin-off.
They want that. I honestly think Marvel really wants that. They wanted Venom to really take off with the film. And
that was their goal for sure.
Yeah, I think that was really on the cards if they actually wanted to do it. I think so too. So I think if when he does get, because that's not even an if, we know it's happening with Venom. Yeah. We know it's happening. But when we do get Venom, you already know they are going to go all out. And a lot of people want to know how that suit's going to look. And here's the cool thing about it too. Let's talk about this suit. Let's talk about this suit, because I don't think the advanced suit is going to look the same in Spider-Man 2. I don't think it's going to look like that. Because remember, you think about it, who made the advanced suit? Was it Peter? No, it was Doc Ock. Right. So I think he's going to add his own spin to it and make it look more different than what it does now, just to throw his own spin on it. But Doc Ock was a guy who helped him with the material to make a better suit than he did before. So I honestly think that's going to be the thing, though. It's going to be a different one. But how do you think it's going to look? I do think they're going to have the white and everything still be there, for the logo. But it's probably going to be gone around the wrist and everything. And it's probably going to be more blue in there than it did. I can see that being the case.
My personal favorite black suit of all time is the one from the Ultimate Comics, where it has that kind of purple sheen to it and the kind of liquid look that makes it look organic. It's not a fabric. It's actually a living organism encapsulating Peter, and it shoots out the black webs.
Yes.
Or the symbiote webs instead of just the normal white webs, which a lot of people seem to forget that the symbiote can make its own webbing compared to the web shooters. But yeah, like, you don't even know. Like, the second I see the black advanced suit or the advanced black suit in the sequel, it is a done deal for me. I will be a train wreck, because not only is that my favorite Spider-Man costume of all time, we already know how good it's going to look on the PlayStation 5. And if we see Venom in PS5 graphics, I'm gonna.
Oh my god! Like, I know a lot of people love the Venom suit from Sam Raimi's version with the webbing and everything, which wasn't accurate, by the way. I hope you guys know that wasn't accurate to the comic, because in the comic it was all black and it just has a logo on the chest. That's it. That's how the Venom suit looks in comics. But they added webbing to the Sam Raimi version. When they do this for the Spider-Man PS4, I'm not gonna lie, that suit. Oh man. That suit's gonna look insane with so much they can do.
I don't even know. Like, when they show that, like, how emotional it's gonna be, because the buildup of what we know, where they're not just gonna shove it in. That's it. We've seen the symbiote teased in the first game. We know the connection that Harry and Peter have with each other from the research stations and the phone calls that were sent between Harry and Norman, letting him know that I want my friends to know that I'm okay, and it's hard to explain what I'm going through, but he wrote in his diary what was going on with him, about him being sick. So there's all this connection. We have this bond between the characters of the first game and going further into the progression with the sequel and Miles' game. So the investment is there. And when that moment happens, eventually, when the suit is bestowed onto Peter, because likely he will make some improvements of his own suit with the advanced suit, since he does, even though after everything that Otto did, he respects him for what his intellect was, for who he was as a person before he became Dr. Octopus, which is why he was wearing the advanced suit and made his own thing. He took the blueprint of the advanced suit and then created his own version of it. But yeah, of course, in the sequel, they'll further that more, because Marvel always does this. They always update the newer suits in the future content, movie, game, whatever it will be. And whenever they add the black suit version of that costume into the game, it's going to be phenomenal. That moment is going to wreck me. I can already guarantee.
You obviously the advanced suit. A lot of people. I was shocked, honestly, that how many people are actually like they fell in love with the advanced suit, right? Because I didn't think it was going to be a big hit like that. I really didn't, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a hit. And then, as soon as the game's over, everybody's like, the advanced suit is my favorite suit. My favorite suit, personally, is definitely the Octo suit in the game. I love that Octo suit, the black one with the yellow eyes and these. That's so much better. I honestly can see the new suit looking very similar to that. Maybe keeping the same attributes like that, having the kind of like the armor pieces around it for sure. I can see him doing that. That might be something he incorporates with the new approach.
What's funny is that if you look at concept art from the art book of the game, I have the big deluxe edition art book, not the one that came with the collector's edition, but this bigger one that has everything in it. They actually had concepts of the anti-Ox suit as white instead of yellow, with the color of the spider and the stuff that's around it. So they're pretty much teasing right there what they have in store for what the black suit could look like. And if they make it anything like that, with the sharper, bigger, intense-looking eyes, the more aggressive-looking spider logo.
Oh, my God. Yes, with spikes in and everything. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. And like we were saying before with Sam Raimi's Venom, with the webbing, it was messy, which was kind of a twist to show the darker side of Spider-Man, where the webbing was on Venom to make him look like a darker version of Spider-Man with the messier plastered on webbing. It wasn't symmetrical, it was asymmetrical, symbiotic webbing across Venom's face and body. But here, I think it'll be more sleek looking, more tailored to Peter as a more enhanced Spider-Man, as a more professional Spider-Man versus the Sam Raimi black suit, which a lot of people actually do like. I think it's okay. It's just a black variant with a different shaped logo. It looks clean, though. But I want a more similar design with a more advanced black suit look to what the Ultimate Comics version does, where the big, huge, fat white spider logo across the whole chest area of his costume with the massive white eyes and kind of the perfect sheen, reflective
And
look.
the suit's
to make
kind of
it
like
more-
moving at the same time. It
Yeah,
looks like it's like a living
thing.
thing. Yeah, it doesn't like just cloth. It looks like a
So
legit living thing.
this is just a simple cosmetic. Like the Miles. Like, whoa, why wasn't Miles' suit in Spider-Man PS4? Because that's Miles. That's his own character. It's a completely
Right,
different
his own swag,
Spider-Man.
basically.
Yeah, new swag, new look, new decked out. He's wearing Tim's, funny enough, which is amazing. But he's all fully stylized in his own game. So when Peter is wearing the black suit, you're gonna know, oh, this is not just a cosmetic to look different. This is different. This is a new Spider-Man with a new power set, and he's gonna kick ass. And I can't wait.
And I'm wondering they're gonna have the rage meter come back.
Yes,
That's gonna be another thing, rage meter. Because remember, rage, that's what it feeds off of. It amplifies rage and aggression. So if he gets a rage meter, he might be doing some more crazy stuff. Like, for example, he might be more of a douche to Mary Jane. He might go to her job, create ruckus, or he might be more vicious towards criminals because he does that in the comics. And it's like that opens up so many doors for Peter. It really does. They can easily throw Eddie Brock into the mix with that alone, like him just being a dick to Eddie Brock.
He's gonna jazz dance with Gwen Stacy again.
Oh no! Don't bring up the jazz club.
Bringing it back, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh Lord, that scene killed me. The jazz scene.
Imagine, you know what's funny though? Visually, graphically, narratively, for the sequel, besides Miles already set up to be a great expansion to the lore of Insomniac's Spider-Man universe. The sequel, though, we're into the nitty-gritty of what has Peter been up to, what's he been dealing with since the events of the first game and Miles' the sequel. What I'm most excited for, actually, is the performances from the voice actor. Yuri Lowenthal, Black Suit Spider-Man. Voice acting, God.
Like, he is going to be so awesome hearing as a villain-ish type of hero, like anti-hero type of thing. Like, you hear his cool voice type of thing, because all we heard mostly... and Spider-Man is kind of like the calm, funny, charismatic voice with like the sad, voice with, with the other scenes.
But they teased it. There's a bit of it. At the end of the game, where he's fighting Doc Ock, like, this not more than it means to me, and he gets super rage with everything that's happening. Like, holy, so that's already just a taste of what's going to happen when he wears the black suit in the sequel. Oh man, I can't wait,
dude. Oh man. I'm loving what's going to happen here. It is cool. We're not too far away. That's the cool thing about all this. We're not too far.
And even more so that they, confirmed feels like a long time ago that it's going to be easier for developers to work on next-gen titles to make them out faster because the hardware is so easy to make games on now.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
For both, not just PlayStation, but also Series X, which is great for just all gamers. But for mainly Spider-Man's case, if they're already going to make Miles 2 years after the first game, because they made the first game from the ground up. It took them 4 years to make the first game.
Yep.
They worked on it right after they finished Sunset Overdrive, pretty much. Or like they were contracted with Marvel, kind of, they saw that, and like, you know what? This could be good for Spider-Man. These people working on Sunset Overdrive. And then they made Ratchet and Clank the reboot in 2016. But then during that time, they were also making... Spider-Man PS4, and already they're like having to remake the assets in an original game from the ground up for the console. Now with Miles, 2 years later, we have a full game stand-alone spin-off game, which is shorter than the first game, granted, but still a brand new title. 2 years afterwards, with a new story, new gameplay.
Just imagine him being bad, though.
So, like with the sequel. I am personally expecting 2022 or 2023, but some people are going, above and beyond. They're, banking on maybe 2021. I doubt it, but if that happens, who knows? It's going to be insane, and I can't wait to see the continuation of all these amazing games. It's going to be...
Dude, imagine him being evil, and they bring back Black Cat. It's kind of like a remember who you are type of thing.
Yes.
Bro, I'm telling you, there's so much they can do here. So much.
My God. If you played Spider-Man Web of Shadows, the best part about that game is doing the black suit pass where you get with Black Cat. That's like the best part about it.
Even though the best Black Cat easily is the PS4 version. Yeah, yes, the magic that they did was groundbreaking with Black Cat in the PS4 version.
She's alive, which is great, so they could easily bring her back. see what's with Spider-Man. You're like, there's another Spider-Man to see. That's strange, but what's my boy Peter up to? What's my main man Spidey going on? And then he's in the black suit, and then he's told Dick or something like, "Oh my god, I can't wait."
Oh, you already know. You already know that's going to be. He said Yuri played a character by the name of Sasuke Urachiba.
Yes, Naruto, Sasuke Uchiha.
Yeah.
Main already like exactly. He can play a douche perfect. Exactly. Sean.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, he's shown his range. Like people say, which is the problem that I have with Avengers. Just a sidebar, like when you hear Iron Man talk, I hear Nolan North. When I hear Troy Baker talk, Bruce Banner, I just hear Troy Baker. I don't hear the character of Bruce Banner. I don't hear the character of Tony Stark. Now, the best thing about that is that Sandra Saad as Kamala Khan was phenomenal. She was the star of the show, and she enveloped her personality into the character. It wasn't just, I'm hearing Sandra as Kamala, but I'm hearing Sandra's take on Kamala. So it's the same thing. People love Josh Keaton as Spider-Man. People love Christopher Daniel Barnes as Spider-Man because they bring their own flavor to the character. Same thing. Yuri Lowenthal.
Neil Patrick Harris also play as well?
Man.
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris did it too.
Neil Patrick Harris. And the new animated series from 2003 is literally one of my favorite voice actors to ever play the character ever. Above
he did
it
in Shattered Dimensions, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, he played in Shattered. Yeah.
Well, which, funny enough, he sounds younger in Shattered Dimensions versus the animated series, which came out 7 years before that game, which was crazy. But I love Neil so much, and if they bring him back for anything, I would love that. But Yuri on his own, what Sean was saying is Sasuke, he can do a lot of range with his voice, and it comes to his personality.
You play Last of Us, right?
Yes.
Okay, you know the multiplayer when you get taken down, it's like, oh no, I'm down. That's Yuri. That's Yuri's voice.
Yeah.
That's Yuri.
He's not. He's a straggler, or is he? No, he's a straggler, not Firefly.
He's a straggler. Yeah.
He's great in that. Oh my god, I can't wait. They already know like what they're gonna give Yuri's material because he's like one of the best things that he is saying, this game wouldn't be good without the writers showing and knowing what makes Spider-Man so special. Like, he wouldn't be given the material with his character if it was not for the good writing. So if he gets good writing, a good script for the sequel, and brings his own flair to his standard Spider-Man persona, but also him as Black Suit Spider-Man, or just a more grittier Spider-Man, it's going to be insane.
You know what's cool about that? Let me get this, but you know what's cool about that too? Remember how, so in Spider-Man PS4, we're in the homeless shelter type of area where you're as Peter. Imagine being able to do that again, like just whenever you want type of thing. You can go whatever you want as Peter. And I'm wondering if they would like show like a before and after type of thing. Like, for example, like when you play the game, they'll introduce you, right? And you're the good Peter. And then if they do give you the black suit, you see him as more of a douche. Will they throw more of a reference to the movie where like he'll start changing his personality? Like, for example, how he dresses. Because you remember, Peter doesn't dress in casual clothes when he's a black suit Spider-Man. He dresses more like he has money, like he's a baller type of thing.
Dance style, exactly.
It's like a whole new swag. I wanted to
look at my Daily Bugle / Auto Octavius Industries paycheck. Look at this. I got a sweet jacket.
He can afford it now, though. That's the thing. He can afford it because I'm pretty sure Norman gave him a job there because remember that was what he was trying to do for Peter. He was good to Peter. He just wasn't good to Otto. That was the thing. That was his nemesis type of thing. So I'm pretty sure he probably does have a job somewhere helping people who lost their limbs with like updated prosthetics. I can see that being a thing for him still.
I'd love that. That's such a unique take on the character of Otto Octavius as a whole, and Peter making the tentacles with him as you progress through the game, not knowing that that's what it's going to turn into.
You know, if you play the game too, though, early stages, you see the tentacles, like you'll see like the blueprints of it, like small pieces of the prototype before you get to that scene where he's like, hey, I made these arms. You see the prototypes. And what's even more cool is if you go to that lockers between the early scenes, you start seeing stuff from like the prison. Yeah, you see stuff from the prison. Like you see Shocker's chest piece. You see Vulture's one of Vulture's rock thrusters, I think what it was, and a piece of Rhino's armor. So you see some cool stuff over there. So they really do. Yeah, they knew what they were doing with Doc Ock, and it's gonna be cool to see how he is now. didn't they say his body was weak or something like that? Is that why he needed the arms? Or was it his
Flat out
mental state?
vegetable, poor guy, superior Spider-Man style. If they go that route, who knows? Which would be another cool thing if they incorporate that storyline to the sequel. I wouldn't mind it as long as they go about it in a natural way. But yeah, he's like flat out. That was his thing, his genetic disorder.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
To not control his brain functions, but not his muscle functions, which is why he was trying to incorporate the tech of the arms into his own thing to help him with his own, progression of trying to not be crippled, sadly. But yeah, his degenerative neurological disorder, that's what it was. I forget the specific terminology of it, but that was kind of degrading his own bone and muscle structure, but his brain capacity was still fine. He was still able to thoroughly think, just not use his limb. So by the time a year's passed now, think about that. He's
probably a vegetable.
Probably a vegetable in the raft. He's in the raft now. Maybe he's under, intense medical care while in prison. But also, Harry is trapped in the tube.
That's
for
true.
A full year. What's been going on with him? Has the symbiote been manifesting further with Harry? Has been bonding with him while he's been healing or something? What's been Norman up to? Progressing as the Goblin? Does he have the suit yet? Is he already flying around? I don't know.
Has he taken the super soldier serum yet? Like he needs all that stuff. Is the good question too. Yeah,
exactly.
Shout out to CB3. Dropped another $5 super chat. Appreciate it, man. He says, "Do you think you will get a Spider-Verse game in the future? If so, which combos or playstyles would it fit the other Spider men/women?" So. Me and Evan talked about, again, cross worlds type of games for them and what they could do. It would be interesting, I ain't gonna lie, if they could do that. I honestly, that's a good question. That's a good question because you have different Spider-Man for different situations.
The Avengers territory where it's a co-op centric game instead of a single player story driven game, where what we were saying is that it'd be cool if we did the dual play takedowns with still a fully single player experience, but you can control both of them as kind of a cooperative experience, but you yourself are the only one who's able to play as them. But if we get into that point where we get two players of Spider-Men, Peter and Miles, in the sequel or whatever, down the line, another game featuring them together, I wonder how that would change and futurize the structure of how the game is layered. It's open world, combat-centric, explorable city, and if you incorporate co-op into that, will it still feel as natural as a single-player game would?
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of gets confusing and a bit worrisome, is that will it transition into something else, kind of like a similar comparison with Gotham Knights, where that is kind of a Spider-Verse equivalent for DC, where it's a Bat family game instead of a Batman game.
They probably would spin off like that. I can see that.
Yeah, and that is great because it's not. That's exactly what it is, actually. It's not live service. It's open world. It's 2-player co-op, even though there's 4 Bat family members. They confirm it's only 2-player co-op, and you can still fully explore the city however you want, and you can play with another friend while beating up enemies as the Bat family. So, if anything, I think if they were to go that route for Spider-Man, it would be like Gotham Knights in that structure, which would be cool, but I hope it doesn't deteriorate from the story's importance.
I don't know about that game, though. I saw the gameplay of it. I mean, it looks good visually, but I'm like, I'm not really sold because, the whole numbers over the head. I don't like that. That kind of takes me out the experience. It's like, I can't beat this dude's ass because I'm a level 10. Yeah. He's level 53. No, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the whole RPG element stuff, that's where it gets a bit odd and not really natural for a game for Batman. Or even Avengers, too. Like, it feels out of place. But, yeah, if they do that for Spider-Man, if they go about it in a way that feels natural and feels suited to the world, then sure. But the main thing that they've said from day one is that these are single-player, story-driven experiences that showcase exactly what makes these characters so special. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Otto, the Sinister Six, his villains, the supporting cast, like all these characters is what drives the game forward. And that's why you're buying the game. Like, I didn't buy Marvel's Avengers to buy a loot, shoot, grind fest. No, I bought it because it's...
You love the characters. You wanted more lore. Exactly. You wanted a great story. Yeah.
We're seeing the story of. Even Kamala Khan, I don't really like her comic portrayal, but I'm willing to see a new side of her in the game. And funny enough, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Avengers, I loved her character in the game from Sandra Sod. she brought that character to life for me in a new way. Same thing, Najee Jeter, where people love Shamik Moore from Spider-Verse. He did a great job in that movie. Now people are saying, even the small gameplay we got, they're saying Najee Jeter is the definitive Miles Morales, which is insane. It shows how important these characters are to people from the story and narrative aspect of the game. The gameplay is a great factor on its own, swinging around, the Venom Blast, all that. But the main reason why we're buying the game is to see where the story is going forward into this universe of Spider-Man characters. And Insomniac's
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. Because the Avengers game just made me want a standalone Captain America game. Honestly, I think he's under. Yeah, I wanted a standalone Captain America game now after playing that Avengers game for a little bit.
Jeff Shine as Captain America was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and it's kind of underrated he was on the game for such a short amount of time. Granted, they might expand that further with the added content for free they'll do for years to come. They've said, but for the core story, he was not in it that much. The main character was Kamala Khan, which I'm fine with, and she did a great job. But if out of all the core cast, besides Kamala Khan, Jeff Shine was absolutely incredible as Captain America.
I think that's a perfect portrayal of him, like on some real.
For a game, if they were just to do that for him, would be insane.
Yeah, if they were to give you the same writers who gave you the incredible Captain America movies, story wise and everything from the movies, into a game. That would be a game of the year contender. Like, that would be great. Absolutely. Especially if it was given the right team to give you the right combat and everything. Because the way they did Captain America in that game, I ain't gonna lie, that was one of the saving grace. The only downside was he was barely in the game. And I was like,
right.
And I think I knew why they did that. Because they figured, people were like, Captain America would be, the guy. Because, Captain America is just really cool in a sense.
Which made it feel a bit more, I guess,
bias, right?
Like you felt that kind of at least success where you beat all the other missions in the game, and then the last character you unlock in the core roster is Captain America, because they knew that that's going to be everyone's favorite. So it's like, yeah of course. So
they even had the collector's edition, and it's like, okay, Captain America's on there, but it's like, you got a collector's edition for a character who's barely in there for like hardly 9 scenes. So it's bad.
Like, for one small scene in the game that's not even the core thing in the full, so it's like, it's weird. But yeah, it's so odd how they handle the structure of that game, but I'm still curious to see where it will progress further because of how that game is structured as a live service. But for Spider-Man, the point we're trying to make is that if they go about in the route of a co-op game in the Spider-Verse style with other Spider people to play as in the city, with a explorable Manhattan free roam style with other main missions to partake in a co-op manner, I would just hope that they also focus more on the story just as much as the gameplay.
I agree. Don't add no RPG elements like Gotham Knights. Don't do nothing like that. Just treat it like you would treat the others. Just give everybody free roam of the character and have fun with it, or hell, if you need to add like a Shattered Dimensions type of effect where like from different dimensions do it, why not do that type of thing?
You bring that up because they actually confirmed that Shattered Dimensions was planned as a 4-player co-op Spider-Man game, but then guess what? It switched it into a first-person single-player solo one-player only game to focus on the characters, on the story. And then it would feel too cluttered and not as balanced if it was a co-op game, because you have to balance all these players at once as the 4 different Spideys and kind of make a narrative surrounding around the co-op element. But instead, they just did a 1 single-player game, 4 playable characters to expand the narrative of Spider-Man. And that is why it did so well. Is the story told, the characters sell, and if you make the game
the best Mysterio. Yeah, they gave you the coolest Mysterio version out there, too. That was one of the cooler depictions of Mysterio. Definitely.
My favorite. Yeah.
Definitely. Ari wanted me to ask you this. He said, do you think... I'm sorry. He said, do you think Insomniac's using global illumination on Miles Morales for the lighting, for the realistic lighting? Now, I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's kind of like, it's like ray tracing. It's another form of ray tracing lighting for to give you the realistic effects with the like the glare of the lights and shadows and everything. Do you think they're out using that for this, basically? That's what he's asking.
They said, which is really cool to see, that they're using all these new features on the PS5, ray tracing, and all these different elements to make the environments look more polished. But the character models themselves, I mean, the cutscenes that we've seen with Miles and his friend Genki and Rio Morales, that already, and even the close-up shot that we saw of Tinkerer walking towards Spider-Man on the bridge, the visual looks of the characters themselves look incredibly improved just from a first glance basis. So I would think they're using that, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. I don't know for sure, but I think that if anything, we could at least see maybe like again the different performance modes of the game with either the 60 FPS performance mode or I think it's 8K running at 8K or 4K or something like that for this on the PS.
It's 4K 60 for performance. That's what they said, 4K 60, and I'm guessing 4K 30 if they want to have like, or I call it visual mode, where they focus more on the detail rather than the performance. It's kind of like when you overclock a monitor, like my monitor can go.
Better running.
Yeah, exactly. Like my monitor can go to 144 hertz, but right now I have it at 120, so that my color and my pictures are the same. They look great.
Right.
But if I overclock it, the colors look bad, right? And like I get more performance out of it. So that's kind of what they're doing.
I hope one day we get to the point where it just can be all of that at once. Just utilize everything if possible, if that's even at all possible. But yeah, I think visually this is definitely a step up from Spider-Man PS4 for Miles. But the real tick of it is when we see the remaster and how that will fare in comparison to how the first game will look, because the remaster isn't just a port. It's not just an optimized version on next gen. They are completely rehauling all the assets to run only on PS5, where Miles is both PS4 and PS5. The remaster really is kind of our first look as to what a core PS5 Spider-Man game will actually look like.
Yep.
And see how that will fare in comparison to Miles, and see how the updated character models will look for Peter. Because that's where they, I think where the question originates from is because on their description, they specifically put in parentheses, oh, we have new character models, new facial animations, new hair, but a brand new next generation Peter Parker. So they're really trying to flat out direct you to that. Like, wow, so how is Peter going to look improved from PS4 onto PS5? And I can't wait.
Man, all the effects, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, all the assets they have at their fingertips this time around, it just like if I was to compare this, like if I was to put Spider-Man PS4 and compare it to this right here, it's night and day. Like you just notice it's night and day from the lighting, from the textures, from the particle effects. You see it all. I mean, it's really, really good. And I'm happy that games have gotten to this point where they can replicate what's in films, but even better. I love that.
It's insane. Like that scene where he's going across the bridge, swinging across to get back to the bus, that was a film. That was a scene in a movie. And it was a game that you can play. It's crazy how close they're getting closer and closer to visually trying to create what movies can look like, but still allowing you as a player to feel like you are in control and are in control of the core story while
like
playing as these
helicopter
characters.
Scene for Spider-Man PS4. Remember how when the helicopter's falling, you got to like web it down to stop it from falling on the people, but also you got to stop the propeller from hitting the civilians and stick it to the wall. All that stuff is like all, and that's going to be even more seamless now with PS5 too. It's going to look even more great too. But dude, there's so much they're doing right here. It's so great. And I'm guessing this is going to include all DLC, right? The remastered of all this. It's going to be like the ultimate thing, right?
Which a lot of people, confused about, which I find strange. Like, Evan, is this going to come packaged with the DLC and the DLC costumes? And it's like, yeah, of course.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Which, think about, if you remember, they released a Game of the Year edition for Spider-Man PS4, which I think it got robbed, by the way, in 2018. Good, congrats. God of War 2 looks sick. Even though we just saw the logo of it, still seems going to be hype. But still, I think Spider-Man should have got, in my opinion. But the Game of the Year edition that came out for Spider-Man had all the stuff. All suits, all DLC chapters, all added patches, and the free suits as well with, the Raimi suit and the Far From Home suit. So all that stuff is going to be in the remaster, except it's built from the ground up visually for the PS5 with new content. Again, 3 new suits, new trophies, and new photo mode features. So it's a win. I'm getting that day one.
Oh, man. The hype is real, man, guys. The hype is real. We're literally not too far away, man, from greatness. That's for damn sure.
Less than 2 months. That's insane.
Yeah, less than 2 months from this. And I'm still blown away by how seamless this was. When I first saw the gameplay, I was just like shocked. at how well this was. You know, when I saw the Tinkerer's tech, I was thinking of Wraith, like, you know, what she's going to do. You know, I'm just thinking of everything. I was like, man, there's so much they can do with this license now. And the thing is, they haven't even scratched the surface with some of the most loved, you know, characters. Like, for example, Kraven the Hunter has not been talked about, but he was mentioned in Spider-Man PS4. Daredevil was mentioned in Spider-Man PS4. Of course, we didn't see him, but he was mentioned with his business card. Exactly. What else was mentioned? The Lizard, Mysterio. Yes, that's another one.
Sandman,
God, Avengers Tower, Sandman, the Black Panther.
Anything that you can think may happen could happen.
That's
Who
true.
knows? We could see Mary Jane help out as a spider person, maybe. I don't know, because she's Spider-Woman in the comics at some point as Spinneret, but now she can be a Spider-Man here, Spider-Woman here in the game. I don't know. And even Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy is confirmed to be alive in this game's universe from the prequel novel. She is around. We don't know if she is the same age as Peter, or if they're going to go more of the Spider-Gwen route and make her younger and a love interest for Miles. We don't know. There's so many options, and the possibilities are endless, which I love about these games, and this universe, is that every time they show something new, it's always intriguing. It's always different from what we've seen in the movies, other games, and the comics, and shows how much Insomniac loves Spider-Man. That's first and foremost.
I'm pretty sure, though, leading into a part 3, there's probably going to be something crazy with Wraith. I just think Wraith with Yuri is really going to play a big part. I know a lot of people might be shocked that I'm saying this, because, you know, instead of like Venom or Carnage or something like that, but I really do think that's going to be a thing, because, like, y'all don't understand. Peter feels like a failure, like he failed Yuri. That's why she's turned into, you know, a villain. I think she might do something that's going to shock us all. Like, for example, she might kill Black Cat. And that might set up even more of a darker tone for Peter when he gets the black suit.
Wow. That would make me personally emotionally invested, because I love this version of Black Cat and Erica Lindbeck's portrayal. And I'd be crushed if she kills her. Well, now I definitely got to take you out, Yuri. I'm sorry, but you just killed literally the best girl in the whole
damn Catwoman. Or I mean, not Catwoman, but the best Black Cat.
Oh my God.
So the list goes on, man. It's so much.
It's
so
crazy.
Much. It's so much, guys. I'm telling you, we can sit here forever and talk about so much
literally,
stuff.
I am still on the hype that I have no more energy to waste. I can go all out. Literally, I have nothing to waste.
We could even talk about Chameleon. Chameleon could have been thrown into this.
They even name dropped him in the first game.
They
did.
Like,
oh, man. Who knows? Maybe
it's Chameleon out.
Who knows? Maybe this Tinker is another version of Chameleon. I have no idea. They can do anything at this point.
Because I don't think Vulture's coming back, because Vulture has a spine condition, so I don't think he's coming back. Yeah, he had like a spine issue. Great. Electro, maybe. Definitely maybe come back, because all he wanted was to become more. He wanted to be Electricity. That's all he wants.
They used the PS5 visuals to make him fully like Ultimate Electro style, the full blue Jamie Foxx Electro, you know? Like I am Electro dubstep style. There you go. It's a sequel confirmed. Oh man, but I am so pumped to see what they can do with the villains going forward.
It was funny when Neil Patrick was going against him in the game, the original, the other Electro, the blue one. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's stuff." I was like, "Okay, you want me to let you in the generator? You want me to leave you guys alone?"
Yeah,
when he said that.
He's like, he's like seeing that, like, oh wait a minute, I should probably leave you guys. Like a bad time.
There's so much, man. There's so much, but. Guys, man, this is like always, man. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this stream. Me talking with Mr. Evan here. I know Evan was hyped to talk about this again. I was excited to get him in here. You already know it's a big deal. Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm there day one. You know, I'm going to be streaming it. I'm going to be doing a comparison between the PS4 version and the PS5 version for sure. I got my old footage, so I'm ready to go for that. I know Evan's probably going to do something like that too. Are you going to look for extra Easter eggs or something like that?
Well, I am first going to replay through the first game all over again before Miles happens, and then I can see the clear difference between the remaster and Miles visually, and just get a sense of where the story is. It'll be fully fresh in my mind. I will love to replay through that game, probably for what feels like the 100th time for now, and I am very, very, very hyped to see where the story goes next.
Yeah. it's the possible again. Like I keep saying this, but it really is. It's like a blank slate. They're not going off of no movie script, right? They're not going off of nothing. They're going off of pure just what we've seen on screen and what was referenced. And that's the beauty of this. There's so many things they can do with Spider-Man that's beautiful in the long run with the telling of this. It's so good. It's really, really good. And they're having fun with it too. That's what I love more about it. They're having fun with it. So Kingpin, we haven't seen the last of Kingpin. Scorpion, we definitely have not seen the last of Scorpion. I see him coming back. Rhino especially, definitely coming back. I expect a better boss battle.
Gotta get that rematch between Miles and Rhino. How it ended up in the first game.
That's why I think, he might be in Miles' portion of it now. That might be a good way of getting him in there or they might save that for part 2. Mysterio, Mysterio could be in here. I mean, they did reference him. I mean, remember the party scene? He was.
That's not mine, since that could easily be a threat Miles could come up against that's new for him. Since Peter has already gone up against Mysterio, probably already know how to deal with him, but Miles may not, since he's only been Spider-Man for a year in this universe. He'll still have to deal with these villains that are known that Peter's gone up against, but not Miles.
Yes.
So that, or if they go, include Rhino back, include possibly Mysterio, who would be new in the game, but is already existing in the universe of the game, but fighting him would be a new experience. Would be very cool to see.
It's funny, too. Mysterio's popularity, I think it surged even higher after Far From Home. Like, he was done so perfect in Far From Home. Like, I love the scenes, the nightmare scenes, especially with Tony Stark in the grave scene. Yeah. It's so damn cool how they did Mysterio. So, yeah, I can see Mysterio coming back, guys, in part 2. Maybe not in Miles' version, but probably part 2, because we haven't really been properly introduced to him in Insomniac's version of it. And I do believe Wraith will be a big part of that. Yeah. Green Goblin's definitely got to be a part of that. Venom's probably going to be thrown on here. You got 2 Spider-Men, so you definitely need to throw more villains out there. So I see that. For sure.
Even they can do some obscure ones like the Beetle, the Spot, Big Wheel. I don't even know. They bring in another mob boss like Silvermane.
Yeah.
Like kind of extend that Maggia crime family.
Add that horror element to it, with Morbius. Yeah. I mean, dude, do something. Yeah. We have so much stuff, man. Too many cool villains you can choose from.
Possibilities are endless. Even with Tinkerer, I was not expecting Tinkerer for Miles. So that shows that they can do some new stuff with the villain that most people don't even consider like a big top tier villain. Like Tinkerer is like C-list, D-list villain for Spider-Man in general. And now she is now one of the main characters of its own game. So my God. So that shows how much they can do with the source material and revitalize it into a new and refreshing way.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, what was his name? So we have Shocker, right? Shocker was in the first one. So Shocker's already been done.
Do you know Flash?
So many good ones.
There's a villain named Flash in the comics who's kind of new, who's a little bit like Shocker but slightly different. They could bring him in now since he's been around for a while. If they do that, I would be interested to see how that turns out. But I don't know. Okay. Clayton Cole, a.k.a. Clash. Yeah, so that's the different version of that character. Or a character that's newer, that's kind of like Shocker, but still different. So
where's that guy from the animated series, the one that was in like that levitating wheelchair? I forgot his name. Was he like Kingpin's son?
Oh, that Alistair Smythe.
Alistair Smythe. There he is. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be cool.
They even have Alistair Smythe Industries in the first game.
That's true, because remember, his father's in jail.
Yeah.
But the question is, did he get out, though? That's the question. If he got out.
Alistair Smythe, they bring him in.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Possibilities are endless. That's amazing.
That's true. Definitely. So, guys, this was a blast, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Evan, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming through. I don't know if you want to do another one like this when we review the game, when we officially get our hands on it and beating it. I don't know if that's something you want to do, but we'll love to hear your take if you ever want to do that for sure. But it was fun, man. It's always a pleasure.
I might be a bit occupied with playing the game, but yes, of course, dude. Like, I love to be here. Ryan, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's always a true honor to just be in your presence, just as a whole, as a fan, as a fellow gamer, and just as a true amazing individual. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, the viewers, for even donating to this video, because BitCloud Gaming definitely deserves your likes, subscribes, shares, and all your attention, because he is incredible. And thank you all for being incredible Spidey fans. The Spidey Squad is always here for you guys. It's because of you that the Spidey Squad exists. And just me as a fan makes me so happy to see so many people just in the chat and just in the overall fan base of Spider-Man just being hyped for another game. Because Lord knows that 2020 has been a hell of a year. And just seeing this bring some light back into our lives, just definitely what we need right now. So it's just a wonderful time to be a fan of games, of superheroes, of superhero video games, and just a lover of all Spider-Man. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you again, Ryan, for having me. This is amazing.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming through. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit that like button. Guys, make sure you guys check out Evan Filarca's channel for all of that nonstop Spider-Man content. He legit dedicates the platform to it. He also has the Spidey Squad, which I do urge you guys to follow on Twitter. And you don't have a YouTube channel for it, do you? It's not a YouTube channel.
We do, but it's not used as much. We're trying to, but each individual Spidey Squad member does have their own YouTube channel, and I do have that linked in my own YouTube channel on the channels list, so you can check that out. And we do have a Twitter and a Discord. That's mainly where you can find us, is we're always chatting on stuff on Discord. The fans can connect with each other, get hyped about Miles, Spider-Man, even Spider-Man games and other comics and movies and all the stuff we love about the character, and even all things Marvel. We're here for you. So that is where you can find us. Thank you all so much for your support, and truly, just you guys are incredible. So anything to the overall character of Spider-Man that I can just provide with the videos that I do, seeing your guys' support on those just brings me a whole lot of happiness and just shows that you guys are truly the best. So thank you again for all your support.
Absolutely, man. I gotta get on that Discord for sure. I need to get on that one. Hold up. I didn't even know I was in there. But yeah, that's it, man. Thank you guys again. We had a blast. We'll definitely see you guys tomorrow. RGD podcast. Well, you know, RGD podcast, see you tomorrow. And yeah, man. Spider-Man's almost here. Hopefully you guys are hyped for it. We are beyond hyped. We're ecstatic. You know, we spent, how long did we spend talking? We spent about 2 hours, almost 2 hours, breaking down, you know, characters for you guys. Not enough for this game. There's so much more, but man, the list can go on forever. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching and everything. But Evan, you already know, man, like always, man, it was a pleasure. You guys have a blessed one. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one very, very soon. You guys be blessed. Later.
Peace.